Rain hit the pavement like it had a score to settle, and Roman Thorne had exactly $3 left in his wallet and a 6-year-old daughter waiting for him in the daycare lobby. "Daddy, you're late again," Lily whispered when he scooped her up, soaked to the bone. "I know, baby," he said, kissing her damp curls. "Mr. Miller needed me to stay late at the garage. Let's grab some peanut butter sandwiches at home, yeah." He didn't notice the black town car stopped near the corner, or the woman trying to cross the slick street in heels too high for the storm. Not until he heard the scream, a sharp cry, the screech of tires, and then a thud. "Stay here," he shouted to Lily, setting her gently under the daycare awning. She clutched her unicorn backpack and nodded wide-eyed. Roman sprinted across the street. A woman was crumpled on the sidewalk, soaked, her ankle twisted unnaturally. The driver of the sleek car jumped out, panicked. I didn't see her, I swear. She okay?" Roman asked, already kneeling beside her. She was trying to sit up, her long dark hair plastered to her cheeks. Her face was pale, eyes squeezed shut. "I think I twisted something," she muttered. "Don't move." Roman shrugged off his jacket and laid it over her. "You hit your head." "No, just my ankle. I'm fine, really." She tried to push herself up again, but winced. "You're not fine," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "I'm taking you to the ER. No hospitals," she said quickly. "Please, I just need to get home." "Lady, you got hit by a car." The driver, a thin man in a suit, looked pale. She's important." "I'll call someone to come get her." "Call whoever you want, but she's soaked and hurt. I'm not leaving her here." "Roman," Lily called from the sidewalk. He turned back. "Stay right there, Lily," he yelled. "I'll be right back." The woman's eyes flicked to the little girl, then back to him. "Is she your daughter?" "Yeah." He lifted the woman carefully, his arms strong from years working under hoods. "Let's get you out of the rain." "I can't walk," she whispered, biting her lip in pain. "I got you." He carried her across the street like she weighed nothing, setting her gently on the bench under the daycare's awning. Lily stared wide-eyed. "She's pretty," she whispered. Roman gave a tight smile. "She's hurt. Can you hold my jacket over her shoulders?" Lily nodded seriously. The woman looked between them, her mouth pressing into a line. "You don't even know who I am." Roman crouched beside her. "Don't care. I don't leave people bleeding on sidewalks." She blinked at that. "I'm Bianca Zeller." "Roman Thorne." "That's Lily." Bianca looked at Lily again, softer this time. "Hi, Lily." "Hi," Lily whispered. Roman looked at the man in the suit. "Is this your driver?" "Yes, this is Caleb." Caleb stepped forward, clearly shaken. "We should really get you home, Miss Zeller." "Wait," Roman said, raising a brow. "Zeller like Zeller Tech." Bianca tilted her head. "You know it. Everyone knows it." Roman stood, suddenly awkward. "You're that Zeller." Bianca gave a small smile. "Guilty." Roman let out a low whistle. "And here I was, thinking you were just some unlucky woman in heels." "I am," she said, wincing again. "Just with a lot more lawyers." He laughed, surprised at how easy it felt around her. "You need help getting home." "Yes, but I also need a doctor." "I'll call a friend. She's a nurse." "She owes me one." Bianca blinked. "Why would you do that? You don't even know me." "Because I'd want someone to do the same for my daughter if she needed help." She looked at him for a long moment like she was seeing something she hadn't in years. "Thank you, Roman," he shrugged. "Come on. Let's get you patched up. You can sue that guy later." As Caleb helped him carry her to the car, Bianca looked out the window at him once more. A poor man with kind eyes, a daughter clinging to his side, and grease still on his hands from the garage. He didn't know it yet. But she was already falling. Hard and fast. Bianca shifted on Roman's worn couch, biting back a wince as she adjusted the ice pack on her ankle. The modest apartment was warm despite the storm still raging outside, filled with the scent of something toasting and the faint hum of a children's cartoon from the corner of the living room. Lily sat cross-legged on a cushion, her eyes locked on a dancing, animated bear. Roman stepped out of the small kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. "Hope you're not allergic to peanut butter or cinnamon. It's all I've got right now." She raised an eyebrow. "You're feeding me." "I don't exactly keep a first aid kit stocked for high-profile businesswomen," he said, setting a paper plate beside her. "But toast and tea I can do." "You really didn't have to bring me here," Bianca murmured, glancing around the apartment. It was small but clean, lived in. A framed drawing of a unicorn hung slightly crooked on the wall beside a calendar with a circle around the date 2 weeks from now. You could have just handed me off to my driver. You said no hospitals. And you looked like you were about to faint. He poured tea into a chipped mug and handed it to her, sitting in the armchair across from her. Besides, Caleb didn't seem to know what to do with you. He usually doesn't. She sipped the tea. It was strong, slightly oversteeped, but warming. You don't ask a lot of questions, do you? Roman leaned back, stretching his legs out. I figured if you wanted to tell me who you are beyond your last name, you would. Bianca watched him, her fingers curling around the mug. Most people would have tried to get something out of this already. Especially once they realized what kind of Zeller I am. I'm not most people, he glanced toward Lily, and I've got more important things to focus on than someone's last name. Bianca followed his gaze. She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one, Roman said quietly. She keeps me grounded. Bianca hesitated, then asked, her mom gone, he said. Since Lily was 2. I'm sorry, she said, her voice softer now. He shrugged, not looking away from his daughter. Life doesn't always give you choices. You just do what you have to. Bianca took another bite of toast, chewing slowly. Most men I know outsource everything. Nannies, drivers, chefs. You're doing this all on your own. I don't have a choice, he said simply. She tilted her head. You could have walked away from me on that sidewalk. I didn't want to. Silence settled between them for a moment, broken only by Lily giggling at something on the screen. So what do you do when you're not rescuing strangers in the rain? She asked. I fix things, he replied. Mostly engines. Sometimes people. You a mechanic or a therapist, she teased. Depends on the day and how bad the engine or person is busted. Bianca laughed, genuinely this time, and it surprised her. It had been months since anything had felt light. Roman smiled faintly. You're not what I expected. I usually disappoint people, he raised an eyebrow. You just said you're a billionaire. I think you're doing all right. She set the mug down. Money doesn't make you good or interesting. Or worth loving. Roman's expression shifted at that, something unreadable flickering through his eyes. You think people can't love you because you're rich? No, she said after a moment. I think they love the idea of me, the convenience, the access. Not the person underneath. He leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. And who's underneath? Someone who doesn't want to be rescued, she said softly, but sometimes wishes someone would try. Roman didn't answer right away. Then he said, You don't seem like the kind of woman who lets people in. I don't, she admitted. But you carried me out of a storm without knowing a thing about me. That kind of messes with a woman's walls. Before he could respond, Lily popped up beside the couch. Daddy, can she stay for dinner? Bianca blinked, startled. Roman looked at her, then at his daughter. She's hurt, Lily. She might need to go home soon. But she doesn't want to go yet, Lily said confidently, as if it were obvious. Bianca laughed again, then winced as she adjusted her ankle. Your daughter might be psychic. She's something, all right, Roman said, standing to help Lily back to her corner of the room. You sure you're okay here? Bianca nodded. I haven't felt this safe in a while. You've got a penthouse and a dozen bodyguards. How does this beat that? She studied the room again. The chipped mug. The coloring books on the table. The quiet, steady way Roman moved around his daughter. Because this feels real, she said. Roman met her gaze across the room, his expression unreadable again. And for the first time in a long time, Bianca Zeller didn't feel like she had to pretend she was someone else. She just felt seen. I can't believe you brought me here, Bianca whispered. Her voice edged with disbelief as she stepped carefully into the garage the next afternoon, her crutches clicking against the concrete floor. Roman glanced up from beneath the hood of a rust-orange Buick. You said you didn't want to go back to your place yet, and I had to pick Lily up from school right after my shift. This is where I am till 5. But it smells like oil and burnt metal, she muttered. And fresh coffee, Roman added, tossing her a teasing glance. Check the back shelf. Bianca hobbled toward the break area in the corner where a battered coffee pot steamed beside a tray of half-eaten danishes. She eyed the setup, then turned to him. You really drink this sludge? Roman wiped his hands on a rag. Every day. You want something better? You're welcome to bring your own machine in. I might. I'm not stopping you. She settled onto a folding chair, her leg carefully propped on a milk crate. You know, I have meetings scheduled with 3 international banks this week. Instead, I'm sitting in a garage next to a man who thinks instant coffee is acceptable. Roman leaned on the edge of the car, folding his arms. You could have left any time. I didn't make you come with me. You didn't. I wanted to. That quiet admission hung in the air between them. Roman's gaze lingered on her, something unreadable behind it. Then he turned back to the Buick. You always this reckless? He asked. Bianca tilted her head. You mean showing up at strange garages with a busted ankle? I mean letting someone matter to you that fast. She blinked. Is that what's happening? You tell me. Bianca glanced toward the open garage doors where sunlight spilled across the pavement. I've never had someone ask me that without an angle. No angle. Just a question. She watched him lower the hood and reach for a wrench. You don't know anything about my world. Not my problem, Roman said without looking up. I'm not trying to fit into it. Then what are you trying to do, right now? Replace a busted serpentine belt. After that, I'm taking Lily to the park. You're welcome to tag along unless your board of directors has a better idea. Bianca didn't answer right away. Then she asked, You ever want more than this? Roman placed the wrench down. I want Lily to grow up kind. I want to sleep at night knowing I didn't take shortcuts. That's more than most people ever get. That's not what I meant, I know. Bianca's fingers tightened on the crutch handle. I used to think ambition was everything, that if I just hit the next target, the next acquisition, I'd finally feel something. Roman turned toward her again. And do you? No, she said simply. He nodded like that didn't surprise him. Then maybe you've been chasing the wrong things. She studied him. You ever think about what your life would be like if you hadn't had Lily? He shook his head. I don't do what ifs. I do what's in front of me. Bianca's lips pressed together. I envy that. Roman stepped closer, resting one hand on the back of the chair she was sitting in. Don't. It came from learning the hard way. Their eyes locked, the air suddenly charged between them. You're not afraid of me, she said, her voice lower now. Should I be? Most people are. I don't care who your father is or how many buildings have your name on them. I didn't build any of them, she said. I just kept them from burning down after he died. Roman's brows lifted. That's a hell of a weight. It is. He looked at her for a long moment. You want to carry it alone? No, she admitted, and the word felt heavier than she thought it would. A distant ring echoed from Roman's phone on the workbench. He glanced at it quickly. Lily's teacher. It's probably about the art project she left in her cubby. Bianca watched him walk over and answer, his voice low and steady. As he spoke, she looked around the garage again. Everything here was real, no polish, no pretense. Just tools that did what they were made for, and a man who didn't pretend to be anything he wasn't. When Roman hung up and turned back to her, she asked, Do you trust people easily? No, he said. But you're not people. You're you. Bianca's breath caught at that, her cheeks flushing despite the cool air. You're making this very difficult. Why? Because I came into your life by accident, and now I'm not sure I want to leave. Roman stepped close again, his voice quiet and sure. Then don't. She looked up at him. It's not that simple. Maybe it is. The overhead bell jingled as a customer entered, and Roman gave her a final glance before walking back to the front desk. Bianca watched him go, her heart thudding as if something had shifted permanently. She had boardrooms waiting, contracts pending, a penthouse full of silence, and yet, she didn't want to be anywhere but this garage, not because it was safe, but because, for the first time in years, it felt like home. Bianca stood on Roman's porch, the wind tugging at her coat as dusk gathered over the neighborhood. Her ankle was nearly healed, her crutches long gone, but her heart felt more unsteady than ever. She hadn't planned to come back tonight. Not after the week she'd had shareholders demanding answers she didn't have, board members questioning her judgment, a tabloid leak about her absence from the corporate gala. But none of it had mattered when she'd opened her inbox that morning and found a scan drawing from Lily. 3 stick figures holding hands under a crooked sun. One was labeled me, the second Daddy, and the third B. It had undone her. Before she could knock, the door swung open. Roman stood there, holding a towel in one hand and a toy dinosaur in the other. You were just gonna stand there, he asked. I wasn't sure if I should be here, she said. It's Thursday. You promised Lily tacos. Bianca exhaled, stepping inside. She remembers everything. She gets that from her mom, he said, tossing the towel over the banister. Lily came bounding out of the kitchen, her socks sliding on the floor. You came back, Bianca crouched with a laugh, catching the girl in a hug. You think I'd miss taco night? Roman disappeared into the kitchen while Bianca helped Lily set the table. The room buzzed with warmth and garlic. The walls were still the same chipped paint, the same thrift store chairs, but everything felt different now. Fuller. Like her presence didn't interrupt something. Like she belonged. As they ate, Bianca watched Roman with new eyes. Not just the careful way he folded Lily's napkin or how he remembered she didn't like spicy salsa, but the quiet steadiness behind it all. The way he listened more than he spoke. The way he didn't flinch when she shifted gears in conversation from cartoons to corporate sabotage. After Lily went to bed, after Bianca had read her 2 chapters from a book she'd found in the local library, and Roman had tucked her in with a whispered goodnight, they sat on the back steps, watching the sky fade from lavender to navy. I told my assistant I'm not going back to Zurich, Bianca said. Roman didn't look surprised. Why? I thought it was because I needed a break, but it's more than that. She drew her knees up beneath her coat. I've spent years being exactly what everyone else needed me to be, efficient, sharp. Untouchable, he turned his head toward her. And now, I want to be known, she said. Not for my last name, not for the company, just me. You think I don't already see you? Bianca looked at him. Do you? I see the woman who didn't flinch when my daughter asked her to braid her hair. The one who sat in a grease-stained garage and didn't complain once. The one who showed up here tonight even though she was scared. She went quiet, watching a plane blink across the sky. Roman reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Lily made you something else. Bianca took it, opening it slowly. It was another drawing, this time of a house. Hers, she guessed. But next to it was another house, the one they were sitting behind. Between them was a line of hearts. I think she's trying to tell me something, Bianca whispered. She's 6, she doesn't do subtle. Bianca turned to face him fully. What about you? Roman's brow furrowed. What do you mean, if I stayed? His voice was quiet. You'd have to give up a lot. I've had a lot. I've never had this. Roman didn't answer right away. Then he said, I'm not a man who can give you shiny things. I can't fly you to Paris or buy you diamonds. I've had diamonds, Bianca said. They were cold. He leaned forward, his forehead nearly touching hers. What do you want, Bianca? You, she said. This. A life that doesn't require armor. Roman's hand found hers, rough and warm. Then stay. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the words settle. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with quiet confusion when a black car pulled up to Roman Thorne's modest driveway and a well-dressed man stepped out, carrying an envelope. Roman opened it while Bianca waited nearby, her fingers laced with his. Inside was a deed with his name on it. The house, paid in full, no strings attached. He looked at her slowly. You didn't have to, I wanted to, she said. It's not charity, it's a beginning. He didn't argue. He just pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was the only thing holding him to the earth. 3 months later, Bianca stood barefoot in the same backyard, now strung with lights and filled with laughter. Guests danced, Lily twirled in a flower crown, and Roman held Bianca's hand as they exchanged vows beneath a wooden arch he'd built with his own hands. No tabloids. No boardrooms. Just them. A man who had nothing but heart. A woman who had everything but love. Now they had both. Rain tapped gently against the windows of the modest but newly painted house, now a soft shade of sage green with flower boxes under the windows that burst with lavender and marigolds. Bianca stood in front of the mirror, fastening the last button of her blouse as the sounds of Lily humming filtered in from the hallway. The house smelled faintly of maple syrup and clean linen. It wasn't the penthouse. It was better. I can't find my sneakers, Lily called from the living room. They're under the couch, Bianca replied, glancing at the clock. We've got 15 minutes. Lily's footsteps padded across the floor. Found them. Bianca stepped into the kitchen just as Roman walked in from the backyard, carrying a toolbox and a pencil tucked behind his ear. His shirt was rolled at the sleeves, his forearms dusted with sawdust. You fixed it, she asked. He set the box down and kissed her cheek. New hinges on the shed door, it won't creak anymore. You're spoiling me, she said, wrapping her arms around his waist. You say that like it's a bad thing. He brushed a stray curl from her forehead. You sure about today? She nodded. I've already signed the papers. Roman raised an eyebrow. You didn't even blink walking away from Zeller Holdings. I didn't walk away, Bianca said. I handed it off, finally. And I did blink, just not where you could see it. He rested his forehead against hers. You really okay with this? Slower life, smaller radius. I've been running in circles so wide I forgot what it felt like to stand still. Her voice was steady. This is the first time my life feels like mine. A car horn beeped outside. That's your ride, Roman said. Bianca pulled back. You're not coming. I promised Lily we'd finish the birdhouse today. Besides, you've got this. You're not going alone. Bianca opened the door, revealing a black SUV parked at the curb. A woman in her 60s with short silver hair stepped out, her smile warm. Claire, Bianca greeted, hugging her tightly. Claire looked at Roman. You must be the famous Roman, he chuckled. Depends who you ask. Claire turned back to Bianca. You ready? Bianca glanced back at the house. Yes. They drove to a community center on the edge of town. Inside, Bianca walked through the newly renovated halls, past volunteers setting up easels and children's books. She paused in front of the room labeled Zeller Women's Leadership Program. Claire rested a hand on her shoulder. This is exactly what your mother would have done. If she'd had the chance. Bianca looked at the young women gathering inside, some in business suits, others in hoodies and jeans, all with eyes full of questions. Then let's make sure they do. Later that evening, Bianca returned home to find Roman and Lily sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by paint cans and feathers. The birdhouse was a riot of color. We may have gone overboard, Roman said. It's a masterpiece, Bianca replied, kneeling beside them. Lily held it up proudly. It has a swing. For the birds, Bianca kissed the top of her head. They'll love it. Roman set the paintbrush down. How was it? Powerful, she said. I think I finally know what I'm supposed to be building. He took her hand. You've been building it all along. That night, after Lily had fallen asleep in her room, Bianca stepped out onto the back porch with Roman. The wind was soft and the stars bright. I never thought I could be this happy, she said. You let yourself choose it, Roman replied. That's the hardest part. She leaned against him, his arms wrapped around her from behind. You changed everything. No, he said. You did. She turned to face him. Marry me again, he blinked. What? Not for papers or for a statement. Not in a courthouse or with lawyers watching. Just us. And Lily. Somewhere we can dance barefoot and eat cake with our hands, he grinned. You want vows with frosting. I want forever with you. Roman pulled her into him, kissing her like the answer was already written between them. 3 weeks later, they stood barefoot on a beach just outside a coastal town Bianca had once visited on a rare childhood vacation. Lily wore a blue dress and held a bouquet of wild daisies. Roman wore linen and no tie. Bianca wore a dress she'd found at a local shop, simple and soft, tied with a silk ribbon. The ceremony was small. Just a few friends they'd made in the community, Claire and the wind. I used to think love had to be earned, Bianca said during her vows. That I had to become someone else to be worthy of it. But with you, I learned that love isn't something you win. It's something you give, freely, fiercely, and every day. Roman took her hands. I never thought I'd find someone who could see all the broken parts and not try to fix them. Just hold them. You never asked me to be more. You just made me want to be. When they kissed, Lily threw her daisies into the air and shouted, You may now eat the cake. The reception was held under a canopy of string lights, with sand between their toes and music played from a borrowed speaker. They danced as the sun dipped behind the horizon, and Roman carried Bianca into the water at her laughter's protest, both of them soaked and breathless. That night, curled around each other in a small beach cottage, Bianca whispered, This is the life I didn't know I was allowed to want. Roman kissed her shoulder. This is the life we made together, and they never gave it back.